Tom, and at one point we were talking about potentially Trevor going to the Atlanta Falcons. He's going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar in a couple of months. Just kind of your thoughts on his career as a Clemson Tiger, crushing Alabama as a freshman in the national championship, and just what you've seen from him with only 2 losses as a college football starter.
Yeah, that's the bottom line for it all, is he goes in and he wins games. And he's a modern-day quarterback, cerebral, but mobile. And some of his running has been huge in some of Clemson's big wins. And I just think that's the direction you got to go. And that's why having Felipe Franks this year, who is a decent scrambler, and KJ, who we think is going to be an even better scrambler, who can drop dimes in like he did against Missouri, bodes well for the Kendall Briles offense. So, kudos to Clemson for going into Georgia and getting that kid right out of the Atlanta suburbs and plugging him into a system that he could thrive in. And so the NFL, I mean, you think about the Deshaun Watsons and the Kyler Murrays and guys like Trevor Lawrence. They make that's why the league, they're scoring more points, because the quarterbacks can run and they're just so much harder to defend.
Let's talk about the other college football games. So Trevor and Clemson come up short against the Ohio State Buckeyes, and Notre Dame falls to Alabama. Now, they did cover, but they were dominated throughout the majority of that game. Tom, with A&M beating North Carolina and Notre Dame losing the way they did you believe that A&M deserved to be in that 4th spot and match up against the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Well, I'm an AP voter, and I voted A&M 3rd on my final ballot. Some would say, "Oh, that's SEC bias," but look, I mean, I got to see those guys firsthand. Their loss to Alabama came early. I'm not saying that they would compete, have a tighter margin than Notre Dame did, but look, Notre Dame had a good game plan, as everyone has pointed out, but they got jumped on. Alabama scored the first 3 times they had the ball, touchdowns, and they hung in the game. So you have to give Notre Dame credit for that. I don't know if you throw a name out there, Cincinnati, Georgia, even A&M, you pair them against Alabama in that semifinal, and that's about the margin you're going to get, if not worse. And I think it's been a great bowl season for the SEC. The losses, Florida, huge personnel issues, and Oklahoma, a team on the rise. I get that. And then Auburn put up a decent fight, but Northwestern was really salty that day. Those are the 2 losses. Otherwise, to me, the Mississippi State beating Tulsa. So Tulsa is a team that's, a top 25. They played Cincinnati right down to the wire. And one of the worst teams in the SEC handles them in their bowl game. I mean, and then Georgia beat Cincinnati. So it's been a great bowl season for the SEC.
Yeah. You mentioned that Tulsa game with Mississippi State. Kind of a bad look for Mississippi State, again, to have a second end of the year, because they had the Egg Bowl the year prior and then the coaching change, then technically the end of this year with another brawl or fight, or however you want to classify it, but just an ugly, bad look for Mississippi State once again.
It really, really was. Brawl, fight, melee, whatever. It was not pretty. And for the kid Malik Heath to laugh and think it was funny, finish him when he kicks a dude in his face mask, that ain't cool. And he needs to face some type of punishment. And I'm sure the SEC office has had conversations with Mississippi State. It's a horrible look. And I don't know what facilitated it. It looked to me like Errol Thompson, the Mississippi State linebacker, took out a guy who was going for the ball on that onside kick, and the guy didn't see him coming, and it was a crushing blow. And I think Tulsa might have taken exception to the blindside nature of it, and it escalated very rapidly. Yeah. And, that was really, really bad. I didn't like the look of that.
So in the end, Arkansas obviously does not participate with their bowl game being canceled. What did Arkansas miss out on this week? You don't win, but you don't lose. You're not part of the mix. What do you miss out on by not being a part of this?
Yeah, I think you miss out on, if you win the game, then the complexion of your off season is a little different. Hey, we just beat TCU, a team that was 6-4 and had finished really strong, former conference rival. We go down to Houston, one of our most fertile recruiting grounds, and we beat TCU. That's what you miss out on. What I wish had happened is that they had officiated the Auburn game properly. Arkansas gets that win and then wins one other one. Then they're higher up in the bowl pecking order. Then they play in a bowl game, maybe down in Florida or, somewhere, and their opponent can actually show up. That's the frustrating thing, too, is that they were that close to, say, doing like Ole Miss. I mean, they beat Ole Miss head-to-head. Ole Miss had a better record, but they also played South Carolina and Vanderbilt and Kentucky from the other side. And so they wind up down in the Outback Bowl, and a great chance. I'm not sure what bowl they were in. Outback, it was a Florida bowl, and can beat Indiana. So that they missed out on that for sure.
Tom Murphy with us here on the Morning Rush. Tom, let's continue to talk Arkansas football, move kind of to the coaching carousel that's going on. Justin Stepp, he is heading to South Carolina. Just kind of your thoughts on his departure and what he's meant to the football program with all the 4-star wide receivers he's brought in the last couple of years.
Yeah, he has been a fantastic recruiter, obviously the only carryover from the Chad Morris staff. And I heard a little bit of rumbling and complaining that, why would he make a, quote, lateral move? Well, Columbia's his hometown. He's got a young family. He's growing. He'll have a stronger support system there in Columbia. I get it for him. John Scott Jr. did the same thing a few years ago, moving to South Carolina, his home state. So I get it. And, Kenny Guyton, the guy who's going to be coming in, it looks like, Ohio State quarterback, seen as an up-and-comer. I think he was in the under 30 ratings this year. Has already been at places like Texas and Houston and my alma mater, Louisiana Tech. And I think he's going to be a fantastic recruiter. Dude's from Houston, and it just plugs right into where Arkansas is right now with their recruiting preferences. So. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great ad, and I mean, missing Stepp is going to be big, but I think Kenny Guyton can step right in.
Tom, you mentioned you're an AP voter and you voted Texas A&M as third. Are you a Heisman voter as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I know you can't tell us publicly, but because that's like against y'all's rules or whatever. Did you guys have to? When is the last chance that you can vote? Is there a cutoff point where you can vote for the Heisman Trophy for you guys?
Yeah, I want to say it was a Monday or a Sunday about a week and a half ago.
Okay.
It was after the championship games, wasn't it?
Because that's
the conference championship.
And the reason I asked that, guys, is because Devontae Smith had 3 touchdowns against Notre Dame, and I wonder if you had been able to vote today, because I know the presentation is tomorrow. Tom, I know you can't tell us who you voted for, but was your opinion changed based on how the college football playoff games played out this weekend in the performances of those Heisman guys?
It was not. And I saw some TV dudes and other folks, you sign this or you check this box that says you're not going to reveal your vote. And then I heard people calling different games who kind of revealed their vote. But I don't know. I guess that just has gone on for years. I'll tell you this. I also had an AP vote for it wasn't AP All-American team. It was some other team, Football Writers All-American team. And I voted Devontae Smith as my player of the year. So I just feel like that's what I did for my player of the year and on another ballot. Mm-hmm. And look, Trask and Mac Jones had fantastic years. And Justin Fields, look, give him credit for what he did in the semifinal after a not great Big Ten championship game performance. He just did not have enough data. And Trevor Lawrence had a big year too, but he missed a key game that they lost. So I felt like it had to be Devontae Smith or one of the quarterbacks in the SEC. Yeah. And Smith's touchdowns were unbelievable. And the difference he makes in games, like, look, Arkansas was holding Bama close. But they held him to a field goal on the first drive. They got a 4th down stop on the second drive, and you're like, this is late in the first quarter, and it's a 3-0 game. Or I think Arkansas went down and kicked a field goal. Wasn't it 3-3? And then Smith gets an opening on the punt return and scores it. So he's a fast guy. It's amazing to me that he stayed for his senior year, and I think he's going to have a great pro career.
Yeah. Anyone that voted Trask like 1 or 2 on their ballot was wanting to recall or rescind that ballot after the first quarter of that Cotton Bowl, I assure you. And anyone that probably didn't have Najee Harris on their ballot probably wishes they had a chance for a mulligan there as well.
Man, guys, look, Najee Harris, when he makes contact, he keeps his balance. His center of gravity stays low. He takes the contact. He has spin moves. He jumps over people. He had a fantastic end of the season. I mean, he is a different style of running back, and he is very good.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, let's talk about the basketball game, because obviously that was the kind of the main entree of the Razorback weekend as Arkansas took on Missouri. Disappointing offensive performance. Obviously, a lot of missed baskets right around the rim. Eric Musselman gets ejected with just under 4 minutes to go in the game, and kind of a thud of a sound as Arkansas hit the floor in their first SEC home game this year at Bud Walton Arena. Just a very disappointing start, and Arkansas now 1-1 in league play.
Yeah, it was a real eye. Here's what I thought: the Auburn game. Auburn likes to run, and they shoot threes, and it's kind of wide open, and they're young. So that was a freewheeling game. Arkansas got to the rim. They made their threes, and then they get right into this, up in your face, up in your chest. You had to really work for good offensive shots in that game, and it was just a different style. And I think it threw them off a little bit. Now, some of Vanover's threes were wide open. A couple of Desi's were just wide open. I cannot imagine they will have another 1 for 21 combined repeat performance the rest of the year, or really anything close to that. So I think we're going to see a bounce back. Look, Tennessee is going to be a really tough opponent on Wednesday, so that's an uphill climb to win that game. But what was really noticeable was when Vanover or Desi took a three, you didn't see an Arkansas guy, pushing in there for an offensive board. You just saw a clean, easy defensive rebound for Missouri. And that's where I thought they should have been stronger, is maybe having another guy at the boards. So they're going to have to work out what they do for the Justin Smith spot for a few games until he can come back.
Yeah.
Tom, before we let you go, man, the NFL playoffs are set. The number 1 seed in the NFC is the Green Bay Packers. In the AFC, it's our Kansas City Chiefs. What playoff matchups are you looking forward to in the NFL in the next couple weeks?
Yeah, I have not watched a ton of the NFL, but I think I told myself last night I like a lot of these matchups, and I'm going to watch some games if time allows on the weekends. I like the Browns and Steelers rematching after playing yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers kind of reeling a little bit, and I'm just intrigued by the Browns. After all that hype before last year with Freddie Kitchens didn't work out. And then they put it together this year, and they overcame all their COVID issues the last 2 games and got in the playoffs. I love that. Hey, I'm a Bills fan. I like their uniforms. I like their attitude, and they're just so low-key. So I will not root against them against the Chiefs, but I just kind of like their vibe. And then the NFC, I do not want the Seahawks to win. In fact, I think the teams I want to win in the NFC, all of them are probably going to lose. I would want the Washington football team to win and the Bears over the Saints. And what's the other matchup? Seahawks and Rams. I'd want the Rams and the Bears and the Washington football team to win, but the other 3 probably will.
Tom, we really appreciate your time, buddy. We'll talk on Thursday, talk a recap of the Arkansas and Tennessee basketball game in Knoxville.
Yeah, sounds great. See y'all then.